Welcome back to the show. This is David Yanis here at the ICRS 2014 in Atlanta, and we're here with Ms. Deb Dearmound?
Dearmound.
Dearmound. Okay, God bless you.
God bless you, David.
You got to see how many interviews I have.
Well, 2 capital letters and 1 last name is just more than most people can manage.
But look at this guy's name. Bagger.
Okay.
I'll
keep mine, thanks.
That threw me off from the beginning.
Yeah, I'll keep mine.
But anyway, thank you for coming in. And how's your ICRS been so far?
Do you know, it's been great. I'm getting my exercise in, trotting back and forth.
Oh, I feel so bad for them. All the authors are having to walk a good, was it half mile?
I don't know. Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Well, I know it takes about 7-8 minutes for me to get to the media room, and it takes me about 12 to 13 minutes to get down to the actual
exhibit
floor.
hall. Yeah,
and that's just too long.
It is a long time.
Last time they had it in here, in Building B, and everything was one strip.
Yeah,
and it's just amazing.
It's not the most convenient show, but that's okay. God can bless it anyway.
Hey, absolutely. So your book out right now. Is this your first book?
This is my first book, David.
I mean, it's Related by Chance, Family by Choice. We're going to jump to that, but just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
I am married almost 40 years to my high school sweetheart. We have 3 sons, all grown and married, and 5 grandsons. Number 6 is on the way. We don't know what that one is yet, but I'm not holding my breath for pink, I got to tell you.
The numbers haven't been favored.
The numbers have not been in my favor. I've spent my career in the marketplace for the most part, doing leadership development training and executive coaching. And about 3 years ago, God asked me to use those same skill sets around writing and speaking in ministry. And so I've made a really exciting transition.
What inspired you to write a book about in-law relationships? Because that's what it's about, correct?
Mother and daughter-in-law, absolutely. The age-old battle.
They didn't come egg your house?
No, they didn't. They didn't. There's an old saying, David, that says, "A son's a son till he takes a wife, but a daughter's a daughter all of her life." In other words, mamas, get ready to let those boys go off to other women. With 3 boys, well, that wasn't going to work for me. And we had watched friends and even family members. There is kind of a natural pull, I think, towards the wife's family. It just seems a little bit natural. And we were determined our family would expand, not contract, when our boys married. And so we began very young, as we prayed over our sons, to pray for the women who would someday be their wives and the mothers of our grandchildren. And we've got 3 beautiful daughters-in-law with really great relationships. They're very different. I have a redhead, a blonde, and a brunette, and their personalities are as different as their hair colors.
Oh, really?
Yes, they are. And a friend said to me one time, well, that first one, that could just be luck. The second one, extraordinarily lucky. And number 3, you're doing something different. And I said, well, I'm not sure what that is. And the girls had similar questions, David, so we sat down and had a conversation. What do we do? And what they told me is that I've been teaching them the same communication and conflict resolution skills over the years that I've been teaching in the marketplace for almost 30. I didn't realize I was doing it. They said, no, you just kind of lived it, and we've picked it up over the years. So when we went to a retreat together, I had a woman who leaned across the table at a meal, and she said to me kind of under her breath, I want to know your secret. And I looked up kind of startled. I didn't know her, David, and I wasn't even sure she was speaking to me. And I said, I'm sorry? She said, I want to know your secret. And I said, I'm not following you. She said, well, you have 2 daughters-in-law who are in my cabin, and they don't like you. They're crazy about you, and I want to know how you did that. And as we sat and talked after the dinner hour, I heard a story that I've heard from friends, that I've heard, that you see on movies and TV. You know, culture leads us to believe that relationship will never be good. And in the church, David, we ought to be doing a better job.
Oh, absolutely.
Our research indicated we're really not. 1/3 of the Christian women in our survey said the relationship was bad. And over half said they were probably at fault. And here's the good news. 70% said, I'd be willing to make the effort to help improve it if I just knew how. And that's where the book came from.
Wow. And how long did it take you to put the book together after you noticed that, okay, there's something I need to do with this?
Yeah. Well, I've been writing for 3 years, and the book came out in November. So it was about just a little less than a year. So it was fast.
Oh, no, that's
God
really
blessed.
quick. That's really quick. So did you take some of your professional experience, and did you use the Bible to kind of back it up and stuff like that?
Well, my favorite review says, an unashamedly biblically based book, which really was my point. There's a lot of books out there that tells us what we should do. I didn't want to write one of those, David.
Okay.
I wanted to write one that said, here's what the Word says about family and mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationships, because there's some word in there. And here are some ways to do that. Because a lot of times, knowing that you should, but not knowing how, that's just not very much help.
Yeah.
So the format of the book is that at the end of each chapter, there's a self-assessment you can take and find out, how am I doing with regard to this particular topic? There have been tips in that chapter, and then there's a place to identify what really spoke to my heart. What did the Spirit of the Lord really bring to mind for me? And then there's a place to make some plans on how to use what you've learned, because God holds us accountable. Once we know it, He wants us to do something with it.
Now, does the Bible have some examples about in-laws?
Oh, yeah. And the best example is in the book of Ruth. 4 chapters in the little book of Ruth. Naomi and Ruth could not have been less alike. Different customs, different backgrounds, different cultures, different gods. And when Naomi decides to return to her homeland after she's been widowed, and her daughters-in-law have been widowed also, they want to go with her. And she tries to send them back. One does go, tearfully it says, but Ruth begs her and says, don't send me back. Your people will be my people, your God will be my God. Where you go, I will go. Something in the way Naomi chose to live her life with these young women, she's a Jew, they're Moabites, spoke to Ruth in a way that drew her to Naomi's God.
That's amazing.
Well, it's the way we can choose to live, and there's a lot of heartache in the relationship. I always tell women that when God said love one another, there's not an asterisk next to that verse, and at the bottom says except for your mother-in-law or your daughter-in-law.
Tell us some of the stress that can be involved, some of the things that possibly would make a relationship hard.
I think one of the big ones is competition, to be very honest. When I was pitching the book, my first line always was, I've written a book about 2 women who love the same man. Eyebrows go up and interest peaks, let me tell you. But when a woman has invested her life in raising a son, just about when she's got him to a place where he's, a guy she'd like to spend some time with, well, some other woman comes and swoops him right out from under her nose. And for an awful lot of moms, once those children grow up and leave the nest, they're not really sure what they should be doing. So they do what they've always done. They try to be a mom every day. That's not helpful with a married adult son. It's not welcome. And many daughters-in-law feel as though they're competing with their mother-in-law in that respect. But sometimes it's the daughter-in-law who's the problem. She's watched Monster-in-Law with Jane Fonda and Jennifer Lopez and seen the comics and the jokes. And she comes in sort of with her barriers up. I've had daughters-in-law say to me, I told my mother-in-law the day we married, he's mine. Back off.
I think my mother-in-law said, take her. No,
Possible.
I'll mess with you. But what are some of the things that you can give some advice to the daughters out there, and then also to the mothers out there? You can address them just separately if you'd like.
I think to mothers, the most important thing to remember is that God gave you that young man to raise, but not to keep. You were never intended to be the most important woman in his life. That spot, according to Genesis, is reserved for his wife. There is room in his life for a mother and a wife both, but let's face it, Mama, you may have tenure, but wife's got some benefits you just can't touch. And daughters, she did raise the man of your dreams. She couldn't be all bad. And so I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, if I treat her poorly, am I sowing seeds in a garden that I might sometimes have to reap? How am I setting myself up to be the mother-in-law who continues to be included in her son's life and his family's life? It's possible, if not easy, to do it together and to do it better.
Amen. Let everybody know how they can get your book.
The book is available at all of the bookstores, christianbookstores.com, Family Life, Mardel's, they all carry it. And you can also touch bases with me on my website at Deb Dearmond, DebDearmond.com.
Deb, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. It was a great day.
God bless you.
Bless you.
We're back with another great guest.